Hello and welcome into BTN's Take 10 podcast. This is Alex Roux, BTN.com, and I'm talking to you right now from the road on the BTN Bus Tour. I'm actually sitting in a hotel in just outside Ann Arbor, Michigan right now, in good old Ypsilanti. I think we're on stop number 6 of our BTN Bus Tour right now, getting ready to take in a Michigan Wolverines practice later today. And just like last year, I am trying to interview a player at each stop on the bus tour and bring it to you in podcast form. So for this episode, I'm going to give you 4 of those interviews so far. I've got interviews at 4 of the 5 stops at Indiana, Rutgers, Maryland, and Penn State. So we'll just do these interviews back to back to back to back. And like most of my interviews, getting to know the personalities behind these football players, it was my goal. And hopefully I was able to do that. So before we get to these interviews, just a reminder, you can find Take 10 Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and YouTube, where you can subscribe, leave comments, rate, review, all that good stuff. And since we have 4 interviews to get to, I'll get right to it. The first one is with Indiana football Australian punter Hayden Whitehead. And I had an Australian punter last year on the tour, Wade Lees of Maryland. I'm happy to have another one. These guys are really interesting to talk to as they come over from Australia and kind of punt from out of these academies, really, these factories over down under, and really bring a flair. And a lot of these guys are a little older than the average college athlete, so a lot of fun to talk to. So the first interview, like I mentioned, is with Hayden Whitehead. We move on after that to Isaiah Wharton of Rutgers, then Tavon Jacobs of Maryland, and Nick Scott, the Penn State safety, will wrap it up. So first we'll start with Hayden Whitehead. That interview with Whitehead starts right now. Very pleased to be joined in Bloomington, Indiana on the first stop of the BTN Bus Tour by Indiana Hoosier punter Hayden Whitehead. Hayden, thanks for sitting down and joining me today.
Yeah, no problem.
So as listeners will be able to tell pretty soon here, pretty closely, that's not an American accent you have. Where are you from? Give us a little bit about your background and what led you here to America.
Yeah, so I'm from Melbourne, Australia. American football is not really that big back home, so I only sort of started following it when I was 18 or 19, just because my brother found a sort of a small club league back home and wanted to play quarterback there, so naturally took an interest through that and thought it was something I'd like to get into, but I couldn't really throw a ball or anything like he could, so kicking was about the only thing I could do, so decided to give punting a shot.
Yeah, and this is a trend that's really kind of exploding. You said there aren't many Australian football fans, but there's a lot of Australian punters now playing college football and in the pros too in the United States. So how did this trend kind of come about, at least to your knowledge?
Yeah, like you said, the trend sort of developing of particularly punters and even some kickers now coming over to the States. I think, just having an Australian football background is, what a lot of us have, and we grow up learning to kick balls like, most kids grow up learning to throw balls. So, just having that skill set already sort of developed, I think, is a big positive of Australian kids. It makes the transition to American football punting a little easier than someone who may not have kicked a ball before. So, in saying that, American football in general sort of is picking up popularity as as the years go on. So I guess that sort of correlates to, more kids wanting to come over and actually play the sport at a high level. For sure. And
you played Aussie rule football back home, right, growing up?
Yeah. So I describe it as kind of a mix between soccer and rugby. There's no pads or anything, but you can still tackle each other like you do in rugby, but it's more like soccer where the ball can sort of go anywhere on the field and you can pass it to any player in any direction. So, yeah. So now that there's more and more Australian punters coming over from down under, is there kind of a clique, a circle now? Are you in touch with any of your fellow Aussies over here in the States? Yeah, definitely. And like you said, as more kids sort of come over that you have contact with, it's good to have that connection with them and have different schools that you can go and visit and check out and have people to talk to when you have any questions or anything like that, kids that have already gone through and even graduated, kids that have come through at the same time as you, and then also to be sort of a mentor role for kids back home or just starting to come over now. So there definitely is a really sort of strong circle with American punters. Australian punters who come over and play American football.
So there's legit like academies over there, right? Like you said, you came up at an academy over there. It's called Pro Kick Australia.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty much like a punting factory. It's produced the last, I believe, 5 Ray Guy Award winners. What's that academy like over there? Are there American coaches over there? How does it all set up, in this punting factory that's developing overseas?
Yeah, so it's run by Nathan Chapman and John Smith. Chappie was, sort of went through the same pathway that most of our sort of kids go through, and that was, he played Aussie rules all in his childhood and played in the pros back home for a little bit, and then, decided to come over to America and try punting, and I know he had a pre-season with Green Bay and I think a couple of other teams. So, he sort of, through his pathway, realised that there was a real opportunity for Australian kids to sort of do the same. And so they've developed their academy to help kids sort of realise that dream, and they're really good at sort of communicating with coaches over here and, developing that relationship to, train us and then be the middleman to get scholarships for us.
Sure. So you're recruited to Indiana. I mean, I read up that it was on Skype because obviously you're thousands of miles away. Your first visit to the United States is to Indiana and your official visit. How did you even get put in touch with the Hoosiers? How did this path to Bloomington come about?
Yeah, well, like I just said before, Nathan Chapman and Johnny, they sort of develop really strong relationships with coaches over here, and obviously coaches move around schools and stuff for different reasons. So they placed a punter, Will Gleason, at Ole Miss when Coach Allen was there, and obviously sort of kept in touch when Coach Allen came to Indiana. And so, yeah, they'd already sort of had that relationship, and when Coach Allen and the staff here decided they wanted an Australian punter, that's sort of where discussions began, and it just went from there.
So your first visit to the United States, like I said, was to Bloomington, Indiana, not New York City, not LA. So what did you heard about the campus and the school coming in, and how did your experience when you got here match those expectations?
Probably the biggest thing was, how awesome the campus was. Everyone says it's a really sort of clean and beautiful campus, and that definitely is the case. It's awesome over here. That was one of the first things I noticed, was all the limestone and stuff everywhere. So that was something that definitely matched the expectations. Apart from that, I didn't really, know anything or have any expectations coming in, but really enjoyed myself on the visit, obviously, and basically committed right there. So yeah, it was good fun.
Did you know the American footballs well at all, like once you started practices, or did you have to really was there a big learning curve there?
We have American footballs sort of back home, just from guys who already come to college, sort of bringing those back home and sending them over, and us sort of buying them online and stuff. So that transition had already sort of happened in the time that I was with Pro Kick, but it still definitely was kind of adjusting when I first got here, but comfortable with it now. So
you're a second-year guy. You got a year under your belt now, but what was the biggest, I guess, surprise when you got here that you didn't expect about either college life or sports or just your whole experience in general?
I don't really think there was too many surprises. There was definitely a few little adjustments that I need to get used to, like, living on my own and all that sort of stuff. The one that I always mention is driving on the other side of the road. That took a little bit of time to get used to. But in terms of, food, culture, all that sort of stuff, it's all relatively similar to what it is back home. Obviously, English-speaking country, which helps a lot. It'd be a lot more difficult going somewhere that didn't speak the same language, but no, it was pretty easy to get over and integrate myself here.
Right. So how about the college experience in general here compared to whatever your friends are going through back home? Is there any major differences aside from the fact that, we have college sports here, which isn't that common really anywhere else?
It's a lot different actually to what at least I experienced back home, and a lot of my friends as well. I think back home you sort of tend to go to a college that's right where you live and still live at home throughout your degree. So obviously that's different. Sort of, I know a lot of people here tend to go either interstate or across the country, that sort of thing, and and even sort of in-state colleges can sometimes be a 2 or 3 hour commute. So you have to live sort of on campus and away from home. That's definitely something that doesn't happen much back in Australia. And yeah, like you said, obviously the sports setup, there's really no sort of intense, organised college sports like there is here. So, obviously that was a little bit different, but something that obviously I was expecting to come into. So, it was a little bit different, but not necessarily a surprise.
Can your friends believe that you're playing in front of 100,000 people, like regularly?
I think it's one of those things that I can tell them all about it, but until they sort of come and watch a game, I don't think they'll really understand how cool it is. So one of my friends came over last year, and that's exactly what it was like for him. He said, he knew the numbers and stuff, but until he actually got there, he didn't realise how sort of intense the atmosphere was and all that. So, I'm really looking forward to a couple more of my friends coming over next year.
Yeah, blow their minds a little bit.
Yeah.
So a really good story I read about you when I was preparing for this interview is in Hoosier Sports Report by Mike Miller. It's where I got most of the research. He said you were, or he wrote that one of the things that you send to your family is the meal portions here. Can you tell me about that? Are they like bigger than in Australia, smaller? What's the deal?
Yeah. That's definitely one thing. The meal portions are a lot bigger. Food's not necessarily too different, but just the plate sizes, man, they're huge compared to what they are back home. So, I think when I came over on my official visit, I had this big plate served to me, and I could only eat about a quarter of it because that's all I was used to. But all my friends and stuff had a good laugh back home, and I'd send back pictures saying, how am I meant to get through this meal? Like, it's just huge. So
freshman 15. That's right there.
Yeah, no, I definitely stacked that on. So trying to lose a bit of it now.
Another tidbit from that story, it said you forgot to run on the field against Ohio State. What happened there?
Yeah, that was a bit of a funny moment. Probably wasn't too funny at the time, but looking back on it, definitely have a laugh. I think it was 4th down and we called a timeout, and I didn't realise it was a timeout or something like that. And so anyway, when the punt team went out onto the field, I was looking up at the big screen, and the camera was on our snapper, Dan Godsaw, and I was looking at it and I thought, what's Dan doing out there? We must be about to run some crazy trick play or something. And Coach Allen was standing next to me, and he realised I was standing there, and he, sort of yelled at me to get out on the field, and that's when I realised that, I'd, sort of screwed up a little bit, but got out there and we ended up chewing up another timeout, but it was right before the half, so it didn't matter too much. And Coach Allen was pretty good about it. He just told me to, relax and, it'll be fine. So, it was pretty funny.
It's a good story to tell. Is it true you can punt with both feet?
Yeah, obviously I have a dominant side, which is my left, obviously, but to a degree I can punt on both feet, which is something that is good to have in the bag, a little trick if we need to. So something I'm still working on is being able to get the same sort of distance and hang time on both feet, because that could really be a weapon going forward.
Yeah, so it is something you could deploy in a game, if you had to.
Hopefully, we're working on it, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Hayden, well, we're almost done here. But before I let you go, just want to ask a couple questions outside of football. What else in general do you enjoy about being an American college student? Like, do you get? I know Indiana's obviously a big basketball school. You get to the basketball games. What else do you do around campus?
Obviously, we don't get that much downtime, especially during the season. Right. So now that I've sort of developed a good friendship group, that's something that I enjoy doing, just hanging out with them. Fortnite's pretty big over here, that takes up a fair bit of time, but apart from that, watching sport, just I guess the usual college stuff that you do around here. Sort of relaxing is the big one because we're so full on all the time. But one thing I do like to do is get up in the morning and watch the rest of the Aussie rules games that are on, just with the time difference. So
keeping tabs.
Yeah, that's probably one thing I do that most other kids don't. So
what percentage of the team would you estimate plays Fortnite? Because we were at Big Ten Media Days a few weeks ago, and that was a big theme. We were asking guys to show us their Fortnite dances, and about so many of them played. Only a few of them said, "Oh, no, I don't play. It's overrated or whatever." So what percentage of your squad would you say plays?
I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find someone that doesn't. I'd say maybe 90 or above %. So
does it drive the coaches nuts, or do they even know about it?
I'm pretty sure they know about it, but I think they don't really mind as long as it's keeping us out of trouble, really.
All right, Hayden. Well, I guess my last question, because I was a little confused about it, reading up on it. So last year was your first season, but are you considered a sophomore or junior? Because I knew there were some eligibility questions that the NCAA had to figure out. What's your status now?
Yeah, I believe I am a redshirt junior now.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully, at least another one more year after this, potentially 2. That's as far as I know. Yeah, there's still couple of little things that we need to get squared away with the NCAA. So, as far as I know, redshirt junior is this year.
All right, you're a Ray Guy nominee for the nation's best punter. Maybe you can make it 6 in a row this year for Aussies.
Hopefully, we'll see how we go. I'm sure, if I don't, I'm sure there'll be a couple of other Aussies up there. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we're expecting big things. We'll be watching. Appreciate you sitting down with me, and take care. Have a good season.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
All right, thanks a lot to Hayden for joining me. As those Australians and punters in general will say, he's a ripper. That's what Hayden said about Wade Lees at Maryland, and when I talked to Maryland about Hayden, the next stop, that's exactly what Wade said about Hayden. So, these guys have a close fraternity, obviously, and it's fun to kind of get to know them and that football subculture of Australian punters. All right, we'll move on now to Rutgers University and Isaiah Wharton, who was a lot of fun to talk to. Conducted an interview outside, so apologies if the wind or passing golf cart is in the way, but really good, fun discussion with Isaiah Wharton from Piscataway, New Jersey, and that discussion starts right now.
I'm very pleased to be joined out here in Piscataway, New Jersey by Rutgers redshirt senior defensive back, Isaiah Wharton. Isaiah, welcome in, man. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you. And you're kind of an old head on this team. You've been here a while.
Right.
It's your redshirt senior season. It's gone by quick for you?
Yeah, man. It went by so fast. Like, I remember when I was redshirted, going against guys like Gary Nova, Leonte Carew, all those old guys, and just thinking, I got 4 years left. And now here I am in my senior year, man. It just went by so fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is a rebuilding process going on here at Rutgers under Chris Ash. You've had a couple head coaches. What have you learned about not only this program, but about yourself in the process as you've gone through the ups and downs here?
One thing I've learned is, like, in life you're always going to be faced with adversity, but all that matters is how you handle it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, whatever you want in life, you got to work for it, and that's what I've learned. As we've been rebuilding, we haven't had many ups right now, but that's why we're so eager to go to work every day, so we can chase that bowl game and get back to where we once were.
All right, absolutely. So you're from down south. You're from Kissimmee, Florida. How'd you find yourself all the way up here at Rutgers?
So for me, I went to a school called Gateway High School. My whole family went there. I could have went to the rival school, our big school, but instead I chose to keep the tradition going. And I was the first one to go Division I from my school, and Rutgers offered probably December, January. And I had a couple other Big Ten offers, but the diversity that Rutgers had reminded me of a lot like home. So that was why I chose Rutgers ultimately.
All right, so compare the culture down in Florida to culture up here. I feel like New Jersey has a very, unique culture. It's kind of stereotyped sometimes, and like the Jersey Shore, stuff like that. But just compare the difference between the places you've lived.
I mean, and considering where I'm from, it's a lot of like Hispanic culture. The high school I went to had like a lot of Colombians, Puerto Ricans. So I experienced so many different ethnic backgrounds, nationalities, and I experienced that as well when I got up here. A lot of Italians. I've been eating I've been eating all the pizza up here. It's been crazy. So it's, like I said, it's real diverse up here, like down home.
Yeah, just walking around like downtown New Brunswick, man, it's crazy. It's just like a melting pot down there.
Exactly. Yeah, it reminds me like home.
All right, so when I asked your SIDs, and Hasim was very helpful, by the way, who I should talk to on this squad, they recommended you because they said you got a lot of interest outside of sports and you can talk about those. So the first one we're going to get into is fashion. It's interesting because fashion and sports have really kind of blended more and more. I feel like you see NBA guys wearing their own clothing line, stuff like that, getting more and more out there. Why do you think that is how it is?
I mean, I feel like nowadays, fashion is a big thing. I feel like it started from guys like Deion Sanders. He's my favorite player. He started the motto, look good, look good, play good. And that's kind of what I live by, whether it's on the field or off the field. Fashion, I kind of got into it because of my parents. They always, had me looking nice. And I kind of just carried that tradition going as I got older. I liked wearing nice things. I liked standing out. I like wearing my own things. And, it kind of just, it became my identity over the years.
Are you a trendsetter at all?
Yeah, definitely a trendsetter. You know, whether it's off the field, people say, Zay, why are you wearing those? But then a week later, 2 weeks later, they're wearing the same thing as me. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Give me an example of something you kind of were ahead of the curve on.
Ahead of the curve on? So I do a lot of shopping at Zara. You know, like the skinny jeans wave at first when I was wearing skinnies. People were like, why are you wearing those tight pants? Why are you wearing that? And then months started going on, and that's all you really see nowadays is skinny jeans. I would say I was kind of ahead of a curve on that.
All right, who's the best dresser on the team besides you?
But besides me, best dresser on the team, Saquon Hampton.
All right, is it because he's got the same style as you, or has he got a little extra flair?
No. I like Saquon's style because even though we're both fly, he always adds his own twist to it. Like, you know, that's something Saquon will wear when you look at it. So I would say Saquon after me.
So can you look ahead then? What's coming back? Because I feel like, you know, you mentioned the skinny jeans. Like, I like that style right now. I don't really want that to go away. But you see anything on the horizon coming up that I need to know about?
On the rise, it's been actually oversized stuff. So I guess people are getting bored with the skinnies and fitted jeans, and now they're wearing like oversized pants, they're actually called oversized shoes as well. They wear their shirts like, you know, like the sleeves go past their hands.
Kanye kind of look.
Yeah, like the oversized stuff is coming in now.
All right. What's old is new. That's what they say, right?
Exactly. Yeah, what goes around comes back around, man.
All right, so do you ever get on anyone then on the team about what they're wearing? You know, there's always those dudes that like wear the same shirt 4 times a week, and they're not fresh like that. Do you ever have to get on?
I mean, when I was younger, you know, I used to do that a lot, but you know, as I've gotten older, I've understood everybody comes from different places. You know what I'm saying? I respect what everybody wears. You know, everybody has their own sense of fashion, going through their own things. Some people don't care about fashion much. So as I've gotten older, that's really like dawned on me a lot that people wear different things, and I just let people be, you know.
All right, it's a good answer. All right, we'll move on to another taste of yours, and that's taste in music. First of all, how'd you become really interested in music? Because, you know, I'm mildly interested, but basically I just get what's hot on the radio, so I assume you have a little deeper knowledge.
And music always intrigued me because I look at it like art. Like, there's no such thing as bad music. It stands out to everybody. Whatever you like, that's your taste in music. And my dad, growing up, he always played different types of music. So, like, my genres, like my playlist, they expand from so far. So that's what I would say.
All right. My dad's really big into music, too, but I didn't get those genes from him. I didn't take after him like you did. So
right.
That's interesting. So who are some of your favorite artists? Give me some, rattle off some artists.
Right now, like, there's all time or like current, like which one you want?
You can do both, man.
So all time, my favorite rappers, Jay-Z and Kanye. But I'm also, like, if people are in a drought, I like what's hot and what's in. So right now, my favorite artists are 6ix9ine, Maddox, June 3rd, some guys like that, Playboy Cardi, Lil Uzi. Those are some of my favorite artists, Famous Dex.
See, 6ix9ine's kind of problematic, man. I haven't been able to get on board, but I know he's always on the billboard. So
yeah, he's always on the billboard. The funny thing is if you watch one of his interviews, he's actually a good guy. He's a troll because he knows that's how easy it is to get in the media and make numbers and make it onto the billboard. So I actually think he's a really smart guy. That's why I like him so much.
All right, so what's the we're sitting out here. It's hot. It's summer. Summer's a great time for music. What's the album of the summer?
The album of the summer? That's hard. That's really hard. Playboy Cardi just came out with an album. That was definitely the album of the summer. It was crazy.
All right, what are your thoughts on, a guy that's real mainstream like Drake? He obviously huge name, but some people say he's overrated. So what do you think?
I mean, Drake's one of my favorite artists as well. I mean, Drake is a GOAT. I mean, if you don't like him, I feel like you're just hating. I mean, like, he does everything right. His music videos are phenomenal. He shows love to all cultures, all backgrounds. He has great music, and he makes music for everybody.
I'm glad you said that because I'm like a huge Drake fanboy. Like, I know I'm not huge into music, but I got like the man crush on Drake.
Right, yeah.
I'm glad.
Drake's cool.
I would have had to end the interview if you said that. All right, so you like some of that underground music? Like, are you up and coming on the music like you are with fashion? Do you kind of look ahead and see what's
definitely hot? A lot of the times when I play music, guys are like, Zay, you don't know music, and people are still listening to like Biggie and Tupac. I'm like, bro, that music's from the 90s. You're listening to the same 5-6 songs that they had. Like, there's new music that comes out every day. Just enjoy it and appreciate it.
All right, so another interest you got is video games.
Yeah.
So are you really good, or is it just a hobby of yours?
I'm the best video gamer on the team as well. Video games is something I've been doing since I was like 5 or 6. I just have a natural knack for it. If I wasn't playing football or going out at night and looking fly, I was definitely playing video games, just chilling, hanging out with my friends. So,
which games would you say you're best at?
My best games are FIFA and Madden. Definitely FIFA and Madden. I'm like unbeatable in those 2 games.
Are you a Fortnite guy?
Yeah. Actually, it's crazy because when Fortnite came out, people were saying it's crazy, it's hard, and like I'm actually really good at Fortnite too. But I like FIFA so much. You know, like soccer, because where I'm from in Florida, so many people, like I said before, there's so many diversities. Like Colombians, they were always playing FIFA, and I was like, yo, what's that? Mm-hmm. And then that was how I got on the FIFA, and it's just a beautiful sport, and I like the video game now.
Do you think Coach Ash knows what Fortnite is?
Yeah, he does. He has a son. Son. He definitely knows what Fortnite is. He has to.
Does he know how many guys on your team probably play it? Because I swear at Big Ten Media Days, like probably 90% of the players are talking about it.
Yeah. That's the biggest game in the world right now, and I'm pretty sure he's bought his son V-Bucks, which is for Fortnite. So yeah, he definitely knows about Fortnite.
All right, so I watched a video Rutgers put out a few months ago. You were mic'd up in practice. You were talking trash a little bit, you know, as DBs tend to do. Mm-hmm. Do you think you talk more trash on the sticks, playing video games, or on the field?
As far as talking trash, it kind of just happens naturally. You know what I'm saying? If a guy gets me riled up, you know what I'm saying, I'll talk my trash. Or if I just look at a guy like a pushover, I'll start talking my trash. It makes the game fun. You know what I'm saying? When you talk trash, you have to be on your A game, so it forces you to compete at your best.
All right, Isaiah, you've been generous with your time here just right after practice, but a couple more questions before we wrap up and we'll talk.
Sounds good.
Rutgers football in your final season, your senior year here. So just tell me what's in store for Rutgers in 2018. You know, it's year 3 in a rebuild. That's kind of a big year to kind of keep proving that this thing's going in the right direction. You guys won a few Big Ten games last year, looking to improve on that, obviously. So let's just start with your DB group. What do you guys got in store this year? What are your goals?
Some of our goals this year, you know, our secondary, we have a lot of experience back there. We have a lot of talent and ability as well. So our goal is to be the best secondary in the country. Just flat out put it out there. We know we can do it, and it's time to showcase it this year.
All right, senior year, you got to go out with a bowl game, right?
Right, yeah, for sure. You know, Coach always emphasizes this is year 3 of the rebuild. And I feel like this is the year that we get over the hump and we get back to bowl games like Rutgers once was.
How about personal goals for yourself?
Personal goals? Some of my personal goals are Jim Thorpe. That's definitely my main goal. I mean, I know I definitely put the work in, and if I'm doing my job and doing my assignments each week, it'll put me in position to win that. So that's definitely a big individual award of mine.
How about just personally, you know, walking this campus for one last year, your kind of victory lap? Mm-hmm. How are you going to enjoy this final go-around in your 5th year here at Rutgers?
My 5th year, I'm just trying to leave a legacy. You know, to the younger guys, I'm trying to coach them up, teach them whenever I can. When I go out and, you know, guys speak on Isaiah Wharton, I just want to be a guy that loved the game, did things right, and, you know, had a lot of character, high character guy that always wanted to help others succeed.
All right, thanks a lot to Isaiah for joining me. Really fun dude to talk to, and enjoyed my sit down with him. We'll toss it now from New Jersey down to the University of Maryland, where we talked with 6-year man Tavon Jacobs. Tavon persevered through a lot, as we'll talk about here. You know, he has I believe, a 6-year-old daughter that we talk about. So he talked about raising her while being a college athlete, and I won't ruin the rest of the interview or spoil it. I'll get to the discussion with Maryland receiver Tavon Jacobs. That starts right now.
All right, I'm very pleased to be joined in College Park, Maryland after Terps football practice. Senior Terrapins wide receiver Tavon Jacobs. Tavon, how's it going, man?
Everything's going good, man. Season almost hit, so can't complain.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm glad to be here with you. Glad to be in Maryland. And as I mentioned, you're a senior, but that's not really the whole story with you. You're a 6-year senior due to some unfortunate injuries you suffered during your time here. Like, from your perspective, does it seem like you've been here forever, or has it kind of flown by when you look back on it?
Early on, when you're a freshman, you look at it like, I want to say a junior. You look at it like, dang, time really flew by. Like, from freshman year, when they be like, you better enjoy your time, you know, it's gonna fly by. I freshmen kind of take that as kind of a joke, like he's just talking,
right?
You know, but as it goes on, you like, dang, I'm already a sophomore,
right?
Dang, I'm already a junior. So from that aspect, time really flies. And now looking back, like I'm a 6-year senior, I'm like, I feel like I've been here forever, you know. And and I take everything with a grain of salt. So you know, it gave me more chances to gain more memories and things like that. So I just look at it as a blessing, for real.
All right, that's a good perspective to have. How do you feel like physically? Because I mentioned those injuries. You had 3 ACL surgeries. You know, you had work done on both knees. So how are you feeling out there right now?
I'm feeling great, actually. Some of the best times of my life. Feeling good, running good routes. You know, everything just falling in place. You know, just gotta follow God's plan, and hopefully the best happens.
You fastest guy on the team?
I don't know. You know,
right.
I win a lot of races, but I'm not gonna. You know, I ain't that bold.
Very humble. All right. Well, obviously, you know, we're glad to have you back on the field and ready to go. And now with DJ Moore leaving to go to the NFL last year, Maryland's top receiver last year, you're definitely going to be featured probably even more in the offense. I mean, not that you would look forward to him leaving, you know, but I'm sure you had to be eyeing this opportunity now as having even a more prominent role in that offense.
I really, you know, I looked at it either way. Whether he came back or stayed, I looked at every opportunity as a chance to improve myself. Last year was just another stepping stone to improving myself, and he just added at him, you know, being a good player as he is, added on to that. Because it gave me a chance to showcase my abilities even more. And this year, I'm going to try to exploit that even more than what I did last year. And we got a lot of young, talented guys. We have Jarvis Davenport, DJ Turner. So we have a lot of guys that's coming up, you know, that's going to be very good and very special in the future. So just look forward to this upcoming year and just making the most of everything.
For sure. All right, we'll get into a little bit about this upcoming season in just a minute here, but I want to get into your background a little bit, like, you know, getting to know the players. Looking back at your bio, you were a track and field athlete, right, in high school, and a pretty good one. Said you were a part of the U.S. Junior Olympics track and field team. So did that have you like competing in some cool places, or what was that all about?
Yes, I actually competed in Detroit, Michigan, Iowa, Tennessee, lots of places. But my most memorable one was competing in Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow.
I got invited out there for, I guess, the high school track and field athletes. Got invited to participate in that. And just being out there, you know, being in a different country, exploring, meeting new people that you would have never met if you wasn't doing any type of sport. So from that aspect, you know, I looked at that as a blessing, and I came home with the gold in the 400 meters, so and in the 4x1. So for me to be out there and to be competing with other countries and things like that, it was just really a blessing.
Yeah, it's really cool. So let's get into your, you know, past your high school days, now to your road to Maryland here. You know, it seems like a long time ago, I'm sure, now that you're the old head on the team. But you originally committed to Ohio State, right? But your brother, Laverne, was here at the time as well, a receiver. So how did that process go? What led to your decision to, you know, flip from Ohio State to Maryland? And what impact did your family being here have on that decision?
Just some unfortunate things happened between me and the staff, the other staff. So it kind of changed my destination and how I felt about certain things. But I never look back on the decision. Every decision I make it with 100%, like 100% effort that I know that I made the right decision. And so, you know, I took everything with a grain of salt. You know, I seen it as an opportunity to play in front of my family. I had a little girl who I had to raise, so being home was an advantage for me, you know, because I wanted to be the best father that I could be, on top of being the best student athlete that I could be. So I just looked at that, and my family, you know, could be at every game or just about every game. So it was just a blessing for me.
Yeah, you're from the area, and you mentioned your daughter. How old is she now? When was she born?
She was 6. She's 6. She was born in December 26, 2011. So she's getting
grown up. Yeah, wow. That's. I mean, she's in grade school and all that. How is that experience, you know, kind of unfolded? You having to balance football and having your daughter in your life. Has that been a challenge for you?
It's been a challenge, but it's also been a blessing because I get to see her every day growing up. You know, everything that I would, if I was away, I wouldn't have been able to see. You know, so I look at it as a blessing. It is a challenge, being a college athlete and trying to manage a little girl. So it has its pros and cons with everything, but that's life, man. Just gotta make the most of every opportunity that you get.
She's your #1 fan?
Yeah, she's my #1 fan.
What was it like, you know, balancing books and changing diapers at the same time? You have to do some have to stay in some nights when your friends are maybe having fun and all that?
A lot of nights, but I got accustomed to it because in high school, that's when I had her. I had to learn how to that I couldn't go out to high school parties with my friends. I couldn't do certain things that normal high schoolers would do, and that kind of changed my aspect on things. I kind of became like a laid-back guy, kind of like an old man. By the time I got to college, I was accustomed to not going out to taking care of my responsibilities. So that's kind of how my journey's been with all of that.
Sure. And staying on your family, I mentioned your brother. Laverne's a wide receiver here. You guys were actually the only duo of brothers in the nation back a few years ago, 2015, to start together a wide receiver. So tell me about that experience and what it meant to you and your family to be able to share the field.
It was a blessing, man, honestly. Just to have the opportunity to play alongside your older brother or younger brother is just a blessing, to be on the same field, to celebrate, do everything together. It's just truly a blessing. And for me to get my first touchdown and to meet him in the end zone, I couldn't ask for a more memorable moment than that in college.
We'll be talking about that, 50 Thanksgivings from now. You guys will be sitting at the table talking about that. All right, so
big picture on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about at the top, you dealt with injuries during your time here, hence the 6th year on campus. Was there ever a time you felt like this is overwhelming? I might have to walk away. Anything? Any moments like that weighed heavy on you?
Any guy that experienced a career-ending injury, they go through their highs and lows. Their peaks, where they feel like they have to blame something or blame someone. And so with all of that, I had my moments, but like I said, I had to trust in God and just trust in His plan, and rely on my family that everything will work itself out. And I had to keep the faith, because my life been full of perseverance, and I had to look at that and realize that I had to overcome it, because I'm not a quitter, and I'm not going to quit until I can't go no more. So.
When did you actually find out that you were granted a 6 year? Because I know that process can sometimes be drawn out.
It was very quick. Coach Durkin called me and told me that I've been granted my 6th year, and I kind of knew it. So once he told me on the phone, I was like, okay, thank you, Coach. And he's like, you gonna be a little more excited? And I was like, yeah.
That's not you. You're laid back.
Yeah.
Like you said. All right. I want to get into a little bit of your off-the-field interests as well, because your SIDs were very helpful. Get me some inside info on you. I heard that you got a passion for animals, dogs especially. Tell me about this doggy daycare that I've been hearing about.
So it kind of started this past winter. A lot of college athletes, we sometimes fall short on funds. And I had to find a way to make money because I have a little girl at home, and I had to follow the books, because I didn't want to do anything that I wasn't supposed to do. So at first I was going to be a dishwasher at the bowling alley, and I then I Googled how to make money fast, and the Rover app popped up. It's a dog sitting app. You can walk dogs, sit dogs. They can stay at your house. You can go to other person's house and watch them. So I looked at that and I was like, I love animals, especially dogs. So kind of started on that, kind of took it, with a grain of salt, like, okay, this may or may not, like, this sounds sketchy. I'm going to try it. Tried it, loved it, and never looked back after that. So it's just been good to me.
How many dogs you had to take care of at one time? Is it like crazy around there? Like just paws running all on the floors and all that?
I had wood floor, so I didn't really have a lot of markings on the ground.
Okay.
But the most dogs I had at once was 3. It was pretty overwhelming, but luckily one of them was super tiny, so that worked out well. She just laid on my bed the whole time. So
they all get along and all that.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. That's interesting, man. That's pretty cool. Like you said, I didn't realize that. Especially in your situation with your daughter, like you said, that sometimes you gotta get that side hustle on, to keep things moving. Mm-hmm. That's great. All right, so back to the field before we wrap up here, Tavon. You guys had an interesting situation at quarterback last year because of injuries. Unfortunately, you had to use 4 QBs, and that was just a storyline that we followed all year, and it was crazy just how many guys had to step up. So how hard was that to deal with, just as a receiver with so many different arms under center?
You kind of look at it as another opportunity to just improve with the next guy. I mean, the mentality is the next guy up, just like in the NFL. So from that standpoint, I try to work with every quarterback there is just to get a feel for, how their arm is, build timing, build connecting, chemistry, everything like that. So it was tough, to deal with one of your teammates going down and not being able to come back from it. And to lose 2 on top of that, it was rough and overwhelming. But as a team, we had to pick it up and had to keep moving forward, and we had to play for them. So we just tried to keep going forward with that, and that's just what we did.
All right. So your last year is coming up, a few weeks away from your final season beginning. So just give me some personal goals for you. It can be on the field, off the field, as a person. Just give me, your final year goals before we wrap up here.
My personal goals, I really don't like to talk about them because I don't want to feel like a selfish player. Mm-hmm. But my goals as a person and as a man is just to improve, as a player, to smile more in front of my teammates, to be kind to everybody in the facility, whether that's staff, janitors, the cafeteria people.
Some random guy interviewing you?
Anything like that. I try to, become better as a person, because you never know who's watching you. So I try to be better at doing everything right, taking care of my body, doing all the little things right, because in the long run they turn into big things. So from that standpoint, I tried to work on all of that, helping the young guys out with the knowledge that I know, just to guide them for the years to come. So that's pretty much it.
And goals we can all aspire to, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tavon, appreciate you sitting down with me, man. That's all I got for you. Good luck this season. I wish you the best of health, best of luck, and take care, man. All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thanks a lot to Tavon for joining me. And our final interview on part 1 of the BTN Bus Tour Take 10 podcast edition is Penn State safety Nick Scott, the converted running back. Really fun guy to talk to, another veteran, really sharp, really witty guy, and I had a fun sit down with him in Happy Valley following their practice this past weekend. So we will wrap up with Penn State safety Nick Scott. That interview starts right now.
All right, so I'm very pleased to be joined here in Happy Valley after Penn State football practice by Nittany Lions safety Nick Scott. Nick, I'm glad to be here. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining me, man.
Thank you. No problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is my 4th interview on the tour so far. We're kind of winding through the East here. And so far, every school has sent me veterans, which makes sense, I guess. You guys are kind of the most media savvy. You're a 5th-year senior. You rep the squad at Big Ten Media Days in Chicago a few weeks ago. So
yes, sir.
You said when we were walking in here, you felt like the grandpa on the team. Are you kind of the team elder at this point?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely the team elder. I'm 23 years old. Been here a long time, 5 years, obviously, so I kind of seen it all, done it all. So, yeah, I kind of see myself as a guide, a role model for these younger guys.
For sure. Got here in 2014. You've been here kind of throughout Penn State's return to the national stage, national prominence under James Franklin. How different was that vibe around the program in those first couple of years when things were a little more uncertain around here?
Right. So it was definitely a little tough the first couple of years just because when Franklin came in, the veterans on the team, the older guys had multiple coaching changes. So it was a lot of different messages that guys had honed in on. And obviously, once Franklin got in, it was kind of old news, the new coaches and things. So we had guys who were sort of doing their own thing. We didn't really have one true culture. And that's something, the biggest change is just as we got more and more guys who've only heard Franklin's message, we've been able to mesh better as a team and build this culture.
Yeah, because for a while there, it seems like a million years ago at this point, but like that 2016 season, you guys were sitting at 2-2. There were some doubters out there, and it's hard to believe, we're sitting here less than 2 years later and things are just rolling.
Right.
Are you surprised that all the things played out how they did, or did you think that once that culture kind of got put in place that this would be the outcome?
I always had a feeling this would be the outcome just because of how our team meshed together. You mentioned that point when we were 2-2. I think one of the biggest changing points was once we got in that situation, we kind of just played for ourselves. We stopped caring about what the media was saying about Franklin. We stopped caring about what they were saying about our season. And every game we went out there, we were just playing for each other, just the people in the field, on the field, and in that stadium. And in doing that, we just started to grow as a family, and obviously, with that, we started winning, and now we're rolling.
All right, so getting into your personal path here at Penn State, you're in line now to be a safety, starting safety for the Nittany Lions. But you've had a somewhat unique path. So tell the listeners who don't know out there, what was your original position when you came to Penn State, and what prompted your eventual switch to safety?
Right. So I came into Penn State as a running back. I was about 189 pounds, soaking wet. I played running back, redshirted my freshman year. My redshirt freshman year, the following year, I was still running back. Saquon came in, and he had a great year, great season. I had some carries here and there. And after that season, I approached Coach Franklin, and I asked him about switching to safety. And people ask me why I wanted to make the move. I joke around. I say, I can give you 26 reasons why I made the move. Saquon Barkley came in the room. So I kind of knew, his talents and what he was able to do, and that he would be a prime-time player for us. So I felt I'd have a better opportunity to contribute to the team at safety, and I was able to do that.
So, with that kind of line, you obviously had a sense of humor about it. You took it well. Some people get discouraged. Is that kind of just the type of person you are, that you were willing to kind of be flexible in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I was able to do while I was here is find a home on special teams. And I think that's a testament to my personality, my positive attitude. I didn't necessarily care about starting or where I was. I just wanted to make sure that if I was on the field, I was able to contribute the best that I could to help us win. So if that was switching positions, I was all for it. If that was playing special teams, I was all for it.
So how did that special teams, playing such a versatile role, I guess, help accelerate your transition to the other side of the ball?
Right. So special teams is all about aggression and speed and things like that. I've always said in special teams, one of the things I tell the younger guys is, if you make up your mind on special teams that you're going to make the play, you will make the play, because it's just a matter of want to and truly just beating the guy across from you. So that's been a huge help for me, especially getting used to tackling and things like that coming from the offensive side. So making the switch, it wasn't too foreign for me, because I sort of felt like I had that mentality already.
All right, so we're going to kick it off the field now, get into a little bit into your personality, which is developed here in your nearly 5 years at Penn State. First of all, I got to ask, I'm sure you've been asked this before, but I saw your middle name is Michael. Is that right?
Michael, yeah. Michael Scott.
You ever got the office jokes?
Yeah, I always get the office jokes. Michael Scott. Most people, they say my name, and I give them my full name. We're like, wait a second, that's the office, da-da-da. So, yeah, I'm definitely used to that for sure.
Are you an Office fan or not really?
I'm an Office fan, but I can't say that it's my religion. I don't watch it that often, but I think it's hilarious.
Enough to get the joke for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so tell me about your interest off the field, because it's funny, when I was doing my Wikipedia or whatever research, obviously it's a little shaky, because before the interview it said a topic that you actually weren't interested in. So I'm glad we got that straightened out before we sat down. You actually have some potential interest in HR, right?
Yeah. I struck an interest in human resources. I've always been into psychology. I took AP Psych in high school, so I came in, I knew I want my major to be psychology. But I wanted to do something where I could incorporate the team aspect, because I've been part of sports all my life, so I kind of feel like I have a good idea of what it takes for a team to be successful and accomplish the ultimate goal. And I think HR is a great way to combine that mentality with psychology, because whatever you're doing, any organization, you want to have a great team to reach your goal, whether that's making money or reaching out to people and things like that. Sure.
And also, from what I've seen, you've had some volunteer experience in the community. Is that right? Tell me about some of that passion off the field.
Yeah. So it started in high school, really. when we needed community service hours, I volunteered for a place called Keene in the D.C. area, and what that is working with kids with disabilities, all different kinds. Basically what you do is you just play with them. You could go to the park, you could be in the gym playing basketball, whatever, just interacting with them. And it was a really eye-opening experience. I love giving back. People with disabilities, they're just like us. We all need affection and someone to count on, so that was great. And through that, I got here, and obviously Thon is a huge thing, not just here but in the Big Ten and Syracuse, things like that. So I was able to get involved in that. And uplifting athletes as well. So I danced in the Thon Marathon, which was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done, staying up for 46 hours straight. But one of the things that kept me going was just thinking of kids who go through chemo and things like that every day. Their grind is way harder than mine, so I could sacrifice 46 hours for them just to fight for them and help find cures.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, every year, Thon comes around, and seeing it from afar, I'm always blown away just by the scale of it and the amount of money raised and the dedication you guys put in. So that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna, before I let you go, I have to ask you a little more about your head coach, James Franklin. he's such a dynamic personality now. He's kind of a national stage coach that is out there in press conferences. He's kind of flourished before our eyes here. So the first thing I got to bring up, and I think it might have been in this room that we're sitting in, is the Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele impersonations. The video came out a couple years ago when his doppelganger Keegan-Michael Key came in wearing the khakis and the whistle and all that. Yeah. Was that in here in this room?
That was in this room. It was a little older back then, but it was here.
So what was your initial reaction when he walked in looking like Coach Franklin?
My initial reaction when I turned my head, it took me maybe 5 seconds to register the fact, like, this is not Coach Franklin. Like, he looked like him that much. So, when he came in, I was just thinking it was another team meeting. I took another look. I was like, oh, my goodness. Like, I've seen this dude before. Like, he's famous. It's awesome. And he started doing impersonations, and he had all of us rolling. It was hilarious.
He was back at the spring game this year doing it again. It was cracking me up. I love Key and Peele. So I didn't know he was a Penn State guy until I saw that video. So that's hilarious. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this from Coach Franklin, but recently, I think it was like in the last week or two, you guys went paintballing, and he caught a bruise. Yeah. We'll say in the upper thigh area, and he showed the media where this bruise was. Yeah. Did you see that?
I saw that, and funny enough, he came in the next day. And the first thing I said to him, I was like, Coach, like, you realize what you just did? Like, you're about to become a meme across the country. Like, we better not lose. We better not do anything. That's going to be popping up all over Twitter.
Right. And obviously he has this sense of humor. I think more and more, to someone from afar like me, that sense of humor has been revealed more and more that is coming out of Coach Franklin. And I guess my question is, like, is that kind of contagious with the team? Because it seems like you guys at practice have fun out there. You guys, get after each other. How does that kind of bleed into you guys?
It's definitely a very fun environment with him. He's always doing things to spark the mood and get us going, everything like that. Paintball, we're extremely competitive. This whole team is in everything we do. And he sets the bar, really. So, yeah, he's a great leader, and the things he does for the morale is awesome. And, this being my last year, I'm really going to try to hone in on those moments that we have with our team.
I just go back a couple weeks ago to Big Ten Media Days. I think we asked you to do a Fortnite dance, and then he was in the background literally just laughing at you guys, like couldn't contain his laughter, and that was just one thing that I enjoyed, just seeing that interaction. All right, so Nick, before I let you go, we're going to talk a little bit more Penn State football, just one or two more questions, and it kind of ties into your expectations for this season. So last couple of years, you've come up just short of the playoff. Mm-hmm. You've had incredible seasons. Really, Penn State's back in the national stage on the field-wise as well. So what have you guys, I guess, learned from the experiences of coming out just short of the college football playoff while still having great seasons? Like, I imagine there's this juxtaposition of being, disappointed that you weren't able to play for the national championship, but still a sense of accomplishment.
Right. That last season, first of all, we never dwell on the past. We try not to, but that season we obviously learned a lot. We all worked very hard to get where we were. We had a couple games decided by, very few points, and that just taught us, no matter the amount of work we put in, nothing is deserved in this game. Everybody's working just as hard as everybody else. It comes down to execution, and being that close, it kind of left a sickening feeling, and at the same time, it's only making us want that much more just because we know how close we were. So, this season, we're really going to try to keep doing what we're doing, and that's taking one game at a time, and working every day, working every rep, trying to get a win that rep one at a time. And, if we do that, we should like where we're at. We understand that this is a game of inches, so we're going to do everything that we can to win those inches.
Yeah, I maintain that. I said it throughout last year that you guys had as much talent as anybody in the country, and it just, that Ohio State game slipped away, and there was a weird circumstance with the Michigan State game.
Right.
And there's just, those two tough games back to back. But like you said, we won't dwell in the past. You kind of touched on the expectations for this upcoming season there. It doesn't sound like you guys are swaying from that James Franklin mantra of, one at a time. It seems like you guys are always locked into that mindset. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you win, one game each week, you're going to like the results. That goes without saying. So, we try not to get ahead of ourselves. We're not talking about teams other than, right now, our team. We're working on our development and making sure we're as sharp as possible. And once we do that, we can focus on week one, and that's going to be our Super Bowl, and we're going to come out ready, flying around trying to get a win that week, and do that every week after that.
All right, Nick. Well, I look forward to watching you guys. Thanks so much for giving me some of your time this evening, and best of luck this season. Best of luck with your senior year, and thanks for joining me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
All right, thanks a lot to Hayden, Isaiah, Tavon, and Nick for joining me. Had a really good time getting to know all four of them, and I look forward to getting to know several more football players as we move along here on the BTN Bus Tour, so definitely stay tuned for future episodes as we talk to as many players as we can as we wind throughout the Big Ten country here, and do a TV show from each stop. So reminder, you can see these shows airing day by day here on BTN, and keep following our social media for fun stuff from practice and for these episodes of the Take 10 podcast. I think I'm going to put out 4 surrounding the interviews that I put together here throughout the tour. So thanks to everyone out there for listening. Thanks as always to Wes White for producing, and stay tuned for more BTN Bus Tour content. We'll talk to you next time here on the Take 10 podcast.